So before we get to Tennessee and any questions, I want to address a few things regarding Charles Bediako and the process of him becoming eligible to play for us. So first of all, the system's clearly broken, and I'm all for figuring out a way to fix it. But since the NCAA has already allowed professionals to play virtually every team we've played this year or will play as a former professional player on their roster, you tell me how I'm supposed to tell Charles and the team that we're not going to support them when he's been deemed legally eligible to play. So Charles is still within his 5-year window. He's 23 years old. He's pursuing his degree here at Alabama. We've got a roster spot open, so this is not taking any opportunities away from a high school recruit or anybody else. Charles shouldn't be punished for choosing to go the academic route out of high school rather than the professional route like the international players did. So again, my personal opinion on all this is we need a uniform and transparent system that doesn't punish the Americans, that takes the hypocrisy out of it, that gives equal treatment to Americans and international players both, while also allowing high school players the opportunities they need coming out of school. So someone should be able to come up with a system that checks all those boxes. But for now, we're going to continue to support Charles, our team, and we're working closely with our administration, our compliance department on all this. So that's what I've got on that. Now for the Tennessee game, listen, I know Charles will draw a lot of attention for this game, but yeah, we are planning to play him. He's eligible to play. We're going to follow the court orders. Tennessee's good. I mean, I think Rick Barnes has done an unbelievable job. Got the utmost respect for him. His teams are always tough. We've struggled against them. We struggled against their physicality. We lost one up there last year that I still take personally. I feel like I made too many errors at the end of that game. I've told the team I got to do better for them this year. But we've got to play better. I mean, we're coming off a tough road win at Oklahoma. I feel like if we're not significantly better, then we're going to struggle against Tennessee. I mean, they've got a big, strong, physical, tough front court. They've got Nate Amin, who's going to be a lottery pick. They've got one of the best point guards in the country, and Gillespie, that he's playing really well. And they're one of the best defensive teams like they are every year under Coach Barnes. So we've got our hands full. You know, we're trying to compete for a league championship. You know, we can't afford to drop home games. We've already dropped one against Texas, so we got to be ready to go. I feel like we've had a good week of practice. I think the most, and like I said, going into this week off with our bye game, the most important thing, in my opinion, was getting healthy. I feel like we've gotten a lot healthier. Taylor looks a lot better. And sometimes it's, you know, he had a hand injury, but, man, it feels like him taking the time off with his hand. His legs have gotten better. I feel like he's gotten better. London's gotten healthier. LeBaron wasn't 100%. He looks a lot better. Trelly's looking a lot better. He practiced today and most of the stuff. As long as he still feels great tomorrow, I anticipate him being able to go. So we're getting the guys we need to play healthy. Keaton, Davion, and Collins, obviously, those three will be out. Everybody else we're anticipating playing against Tennessee, and we're going to need them because they're a good team. We got to play well tomorrow.
I don't know how much you've paid attention to it, but it seems like every coach in the country has an opinion on this. Just what's been your reaction to all their opinions?
You know what, and I've said this before, I take social media off my phone for the whole season. Really doesn't do anything except distract me from doing my job. So, you know, and people have forwarded me some stuff that, you know, I got friends that are fans, and, you know, my staff doesn't all take it off because they got to deal with recruiting a lot more and all that. So I've been sent some stuff. Like, everybody's going to have their opinions. I respect them. I'm focused on our team and what we need to do to get better, and that's where I'm going to keep my focus. I think focusing on all that other stuff distracts me from doing my job.
Yeah, what ultimately made you comfortable with doing this?
Yeah, I mean, I think, to me, it makes sense. Like, so the James Najee situation was what really kind of put it over the edge, in my opinion. You know, and you're kind of watching as all these things go, and these European players are, you know, there's some guys that played 4 years in the second best league in the world, the EuroLeague's the second best league in the world. The NBA and then the EuroLeague. I had a former player, Will Clyburn, that was the EuroLeague MVP, I believe in 2019. He turned down NBA jobs to stay in the EuroLeague because he's making more money over there. So you see all these players in the EuroLeague coming over and being eligible to play in, well, they're pros, they're professionals, playing in the second best league in the world behind the NBA. So then you see a guy like James Nagy, and Charles actually sat right next to Nagy at the draft that year. And Nagy goes 31st in the draft, plays 3 years in Europe, gets declared eligible with 4 years of eligibility at Baylor. It kind of made Charles and his camp and us, and we both had mutual interest, and it seemed like it made a lot of sense. If a guy that actually got drafted in the same draft as him is eligible to play 4 years, Charles is still within his 5-year window. Let's pursue it. I assumed the NCAA would deem him eligible. They didn't. The court system deemed him eligible, and we're comfortable with what's happened so far.
How has the rest of the team reacted to Charles coming in, and just kind of how has he adjusted if he's been practicing with the team this week?
Yeah, so they're great. I wouldn't bring a guy that wasn't high character into the team, and I think we got a team full of high character guys. And we've got a need for it. We assumed Collins was going to be able to play this year. He's had the heart condition all year. It doesn't look like he's going to be able to play this year. Keaton, has been playing backup 5, some 4. He's come across injuries. I don't know when he'll be able to play again. Taylor's been in and out. We were thin in the front court after Collins went out to begin with. Our players are trying to win. Their goals are high. Charles is going to contribute to them winning, and he's a great guy. He's been an unbelievable teammate. Every kid that played with him is 2 years here. Love playing with him. So he's been welcomed in. And Charles was here when some of these guys came on visits, and they know him from then too. Charles has been around. She was here last year when they played in Birmingham last week. He came down with their coaches and watched practice. He's been around. So, and I stay in touch with all our former players. So I've continued to talk to him through the years, and I love having our guys come back. So he's been a guy that's been around. They're pretty comfortable with him, and he fits in great. He practiced today. We can play him and Aiden Sherrill together. Aiden Sherrill spaces the floor really well, can play some 4. There's a lot of teams in our league that play 2 bigs. Noah and Aiden can play together. We've done that already. Charles and Noah can play together. All those guys that frees Taylor and London up to play a little bit more what their position is. I think it helps everybody out, and they're all thankful for a guy to help us win some more games.
Do you think this is good for the sport? And if not, do you feel any personal responsibility for it, or is it just a system thing?
Kind of like I said, that we've got to come up with a uniform and transparent system that doesn't give preferential treatment to international players like the current system does, because those guys can play 4 years professionally and then come here. So is it good for the sport? I mean, at some point, we've got to get it to where everybody's got a uniform, transparent. We all know who we can recruit and who we can't recruit. That doesn't give preferential treatment to international players. And once they figure that out, it'll be great. So if this helps them get to that point, that's great. But they need to get to that point.
Yeah, is there any concern or worry about potential punishment from the NCAA if he doesn't win the hearing on Tuesday next week?
No, none. We've been in constant contact with our administration and compliance, so there's no concern with that.
Yeah, just kind of what were the initial conversations between you and Charles regarding this whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, we've been seeing similar cases around the country this season. Former pros that are now in college. I mean, UConn's got multiple ones. BYU. I mean, go down the list. Virtually everybody we've had. Louisville recruited the kid out of the G League that made a lot more money than Charles did. So when all those were happening, and then the Najee one, it was like, again, Charles had been down here. We've talked fairly frequently, and I knew that he literally, I think, sat 2 rows away from Charles at that draft when Najee got drafted. Then we started talking of how how does Najee get drafted, play 3 years in the second best basketball league in the world, the Euro League, and come back to play? Well, Charles made a mistake. When he stayed in, he wished, and again, the NIL money when Charles left was not near what it is now. So, he knew it was a better situation. There's a lot of players trying to leave the G League right now and come to college. So college is a much better system for kids the age of Charles and those kids that are leaving that. So we talked. His people found some attorneys that agreed with them that he should be eligible, and they went through the process with the NCAA and the legal process, and we're here where we're at.
Do you view Charles's case as a landmark case that's potentially like a big game changer across college sports, or do you just see it more like 1 degree of separation from the Oklahoma case or the Baylor case?
Yeah, I think it's more like 1 degree of separation. I mean, I'm not sure I know they're trying to make a differentiation between Charles and some other cases, but not sure how you tell a guy that's played 4 years in the Euro League, which is a lot higher level than the G League, that he's eligible to come. And because Charles chose to go to an academic institution to start with, and the other players chose to go the professional route, that Charles is going to get punished. Really what it does, it gives very preferential treatment to the international players and penalizes American players for choosing to go to an academic. And we are in the NCAA, which is a conglomeration of academic institutions. We should not be punishing American kids that go to American high schools that then go to colleges from being able to come back to pursue their degree and play in college, and giving preferential treatment to international players. So I think it's just one more line in making sure that it's equal treatment between Americans and international players. I don't think it's some landmark case. If some other people want to view it as that, they can, but that's not at all how we viewed it. We didn't think it was really any different than a lot of the other professional players that are currently playing college basketball right now.
What can Charles give your team on the defensive end, and how has he developed since leaving Tuscaloosa?
Yeah, obviously we haven't had him here in practice a lot this week, just limited, but based on what he did here in the past, he obviously gives shot blocking, rebounding, lob target. I think our guards like playing with him in practice. He can go get some lobs. As far as his development goes, it's hard for me to see. He's really good at the stuff that we used him with when he was here, and he was here not that long ago. So he was a sophomore and Nick Pringle was a junior that year. Nick Pringle's still playing in the SEC. So Pringle's been in college longer than Charles is. Like that's where some people got to understand. He's in his 5-year window, and he's 23 years old. He was here not that long ago. And when he was here, he was an elite rim protector, very good post defender, rebounder, very good lob target. And I think his game's continued to develop, and we'll try to use some of the stuff he's developed. But right now, we're just trying to get him used to playing with the players we have. It was a lot easier for him to come back because he's been in our system. Our system gets tweaked a little bit every year, but Fleming's been in the NBA, so we ran an NBA system when Charles was here. Charles has played some G League teams that play an NBA system. He's back playing an NBA system now. So it's not as big of an adjustment as maybe some of these other guys.
Yeah, Coach, just kind of looking at the timeline of this, has this been kind of a planned date? How long has it been kind of established? And was Charles playing in Birmingham this past week? Did that affect him coming here this week, or was there anything on the timeline?
Yeah, I think the timeline, I think our eyes got opened with the James Najee ruling. I think that was kind of the one that I think people had become accustomed to the international players coming, even though I had always thought in my head, why are these international pros eligible to play in college, but a G League pro's not? I'd kind of question that. But I think once a guy that had got drafted in the same draft Charles was in, that played 3 years in the second best league in the world in the Euro League, was able to now come back to college. It kind of opened things up. So it started then. We had some mutual conversations. Charles and his camp were able to get some attorneys that agreed with Charles believing he should be able to come back to college based on what the NCAA had allowed up to that point. And then Charles wanted to get his degree. He re-enrolled in school. He's been in class since we started class, first day of second semester, and he's been working towards finishing up his classes. And yeah, he was in town last weekend, but this has been, well, going along since before that. So I think he played Thursday, Saturday. I don't think he even played in the game Thursday, and then he played some limited minutes Saturday. So, we talked to the G League people, the people with the Pistons, and worked through all what he needed to do to get out of the G League and back into college once he got the temporary restraining order, was eligible to play. So, yeah, it's been going on since right around the James Nagy ruling, shortly after that. So they've been working on it. Anybody got Tennessee questions? We do have a big SEC game tomorrow for those of you that follow SEC basketball. It's good, yeah. Nate Mintz, very good player. And they play him at the 3, and you're going to have to guard him, with a guy that's probably undersized because he's a 6'10" 3-man, and I saw him play in high school. Interestingly enough, his dad's from Detroit. We had a lot of mutual connections up there. And, we tried to recruit him for a little bit. I think he's a really good player, but we're going to have to guard him with more of our wings because they usually play 2 real bigs. Occasionally they'll play him at the 4, but mainly he's the 3. So we're going to have a size problem. So we're going to have to, guys are going to have to pressure him and play him. They play him like a guard, so we're going to have to guard him like a guard. All right. Appreciate you guys.